welcome, and here we are at another Civil War week, and we're very excited. After the tough one on Saturday, it was a little disappointing, and then I watched the tape, and it's a glass half full or half empty. I could have been more disappointed or less disappointed, and I chose to be a little less disappointed. It was a small sliver of time there where we just went away from our game plan. And if there was a bright side to take away from it, I thought there were two positive points. One, the first half against the team that's 3-0 with their 3 wins on the road, that's going to be a pretty good team. But at the end of the game, I thought we managed trying to get the lead down and stop the clock using fouling and timeouts to get it down to 5. That was a pretty good execution of that type of game plan at the time. So it may sound like I'm really reaching for positive stuff, but when you're looking at the film, I'm pretty negative, and I didn't come away feeling as negative as I thought I felt when I was sitting here right after the game. So looking forward to this week. Oregon's going to be really good. Having lost their last couple of games, they're going to be looking to right the ship, and we're right there smacking their sights. So we are preparing for them solely this week, and that's a good thing. We'll be able to rest up, heal up a little bit, and be prepared for a good game on Sunday. With that, I'll open it up for questions.
Is there a greater sense of urgency going into this Civil War after being swept by the Ducks last year and starting confidence?
No. The sense of urgency in Civil War games is usually pretty high, so I don't think there's a greater sense of urgency. Those are games that run deep in the state and in our Beaver Nation, and we want to win those games all the time.
Besides, being replaced in the starting lineup, Collier's production has significantly tailed off. What do you guys need to do to get him going again?
I think it's more of what he needs to do, and it's interesting you bring that up because he stopped by and saw me yesterday and wanted to talk about what he could do to play better. So that's the first sign right there. He realizes he's not playing well, and I think this doesn't have anything to do with the starting or not starting. He's just got to play well, and in order to play well, you got to get into the gym more often and work on your craft and get better. So he's started that process, and Devon has had a couple of quote unquote slumps in his tenure here, and he just needs to get back in the gym and feel comfortable when the ball's going through the net.
Was he not doing that just in these previous weeks? Was he doing that at the start of the year? Was he in the gym more when he was having so many great games?
I think I could safely say he was in the gym more early on, and once you start having some success, you don't think that you have to continue to do that. And the lesson to be learned here that we try and give to our players is every day it gets harder. It doesn't get easier. Whether you're winning or losing, it gets harder. It doesn't get easier. So you have to really work at your craft.
How much do you need him?
We need him a lot. I mean, when we envisioned this lineup, we envisioned it with both Devon and Eric in it, and his inside scoring enables Angus to get a break from it from time to time. It allows Angus to go outside, which he's very good at, and then it also allows us to have some really good size on that front line when you have 6'8", 6'9", and 6'10".
Obviously, at the start of the season, he was really motivated, wanted to kind of atone for, the suspension and everything. Do you think he just kind of got comfortable? Or
No, I don't think it's. I just think it's what happens sometimes to players. They just lose focus, and everybody has a time during the season where they kind of lose focus, and usually they can snap themselves back out of it. In this case, Eric coming back sort of simultaneously with him sort of dropping off, because I think it was starting before Eric was even starting to play, and maybe it had something to do with it, but I just think that he just kind of lost focus when we were in Hawaii, and now he's got to pick it back up.
With the second half you had on Saturday, giving up 53 points, how much is that going to motivate your guys?
Our guys still have a bad taste in their mouth, and I'm trying to keep that bad taste in their mouth so they'll be hungry by Sunday. But also, I want them to get past the fact. I mean, we haven't had a bad half like that in a while, and I'm looking at it as an anomaly as opposed to some kind of huge problem we have. I thought if we stuck with our game plan of throwing the ball down and made our foul shots, we might have even won that game playing as poorly as we did.
It seems like every team in the Pac-12 has a guard like Cobbs that can get to the basket. Is that part of a bigger problem for your team?
No, because we've played other teams that have guards that can get to the basket, and we've defended them pretty well. And we've won games in spite of the fact that those guards have played well. So I don't want to make it a bigger problem than it is. We just have to play a complete game overall, and if we do that, we have a chance of winning each game that we play that way.
Has kind of bemoaned the Ducks' lack of a rim protector, is what he calls it. Does that kind of play to your strength in some way with it? Both air defensively and just offensively, do you feel like you'll have an advantage inside against Oregon?
It depends on who they start. I mean, the last couple of games they started Waverly Austin, who's a 6'10" guy. I wouldn't say he isn't a rim protector. Maybe he's not protecting it the way they want him to, but that's a guy of some significant size. Now, if they start a Marty, he's more sort of your 6'8" type guy. But all of their guys, all their front court guys are relatively athletic. So our game plan should be the same anyway. We have a very tall and capable front court, and they should get the ball a lot in games. And this is no different from any other game.
I think you played 13 guys in the first half against Cal. Are you kind of continuing to have that type of rotation?
No, the last minute and a half, I threw some guys in because I was worried about the way the fouls are being called, and I couldn't tell if somebody bumped into a guy if they were going to pick up a second foul or a third foul. So I went with a group that I thought could, absorb some fouls without it costing us in the second half. Yeah.
Kind of an ideal number of a rotation?
Yeah, the rotation that I have when we win games is the ideal number. No, I don't. I'm being kind of facetious, but I think as you get closer to the end of the season, you want to be at 8 or 9, but we're not there yet. I mean, I think our small forward position is not up for grabs. I think Langston's doing a great job starting out there, but his substitution there is different for each situation right now. We don't have a clear-cut substitution at that position yet. But other than that, we have one guy for every other position.
In all four conference games, your team's been able to shoot over 500 on three-pointers. Are there any factors that kind of stick out that you point to there?
As opposed to earlier in the season,
Yeah, what has allowed you guys to shoot so well from three-pointers?
I think there are two things. One, we practice them, and this year, the second thing is this year we're much better at having the guys who can make them take more of them and the guys who can't make them take fewer of them. And that may sound sort of flip, but last year we were askew from that standpoint. We had guys who thought they should be taking more, and guys who should be taking more weren't taking as many as they should. So if you can be efficient in your sort of population of that statistic, you have an opportunity to shoot the ball really well. A third thing, and without, I mean, it's not like it's a big secret, but we're not. It's very rare. I mean, Roberto has sort of a carte blanche to do it, but we stopped coming down, making one pass, and taking a three. That we did a lot last year, and and that's what we did in the second half. Of having said that, that's what we did in the second half against Cal, and that's like helps jumpstart their offense going in the other direction.
Kind of going over the film with
No. Sometimes there's a need to build them up and show them some positive things, and this was a sort of let's look at the ugly stuff and fix it and worry about fixing that. We know how to play when we're going well, and it's mostly mental toughness. I mean, it's not making the mental mistakes. I mean, it feels to me, and you guys know I'm pretty realistic. It feels to me that we're very close, and we're a few mistakes from being 3-1, and that's the emphasis that I'm putting on with the guys this week. And but there are times when you want to show them really good stuff, but now's not the time.
Coach, when you were watching House back in high school, remember what your first impression of him was, or how you thought he would translate?
When I first saw Hallis play was in a summer tournament with his AAU team, and I went to see it's just typically what happens. You go to see some other guy, and then you see another kid, and you say, "Hey, who's that guy?" So that's what happened with Hallis. I'm watching another kid play, and I'm thinking, he's not bad, but boy, I like that guard over there because he's what's the word people like, rangy. So long, he's long, but he's not a tall, it's not like he's 6'7" or anything, but he's a long guard. He's got long arms, long legs, short trunk. That was the first thing I noticed, and he moved like a basketball player. Like his movements sort of it was as if he knew what was going to happen before it happened. It's hard to explain, but well, you played. When the good guys know what's going to happen before it's happened, but before it happens, because they played so many games, they have an idea. He was very good at that, and I just liked his shot. And his shot was not as nice as it is now, but it certainly was not a high schooler shot. I was thinking this kid must work on his shot a lot because it had a nice arc to it, and it had nice rotation on his ball. And then and that was it. And I sent a text to my assistants, and said, "Hey, I'm watching this kid, but there's another one over here. Can you take a look, see what his situation is?" And it came back, and he was getting recruited by some sort of high mid-majors, but no high majors yet. And, I started following him around and saw a little bit more of him. And then I saw him in an all-star game with a bunch of high major recruits, one of those things. And I was sure he was going to shoot the ball well enough to start getting recruited by a bunch of high major guys. And he, of course, he did. And we just held on for dear life and tried to get him to come out here. Oh, yeah, but I'm not telling you who it is. Nice try. Have I met who? Oh, yeah, he came out, actually, to the Quinnipiac game. So that was actually the first time I had met him face-to-face, but I had known of him. As you guys are getting to know, Hallis spends a lot of time in the gym. I mean, he's over there now before he has to go to class. Or actually, he just finished class before he has to lift. He'll probably get up 300, 400 shots, 400 makes before he goes to lift, and then he'll come back in at practice. But when Hallis was in high school, he's not as prolific tweeter as Jamal Reed, but he always tweets when he goes to the gym. It's exciting for him. So I was able to keep tabs on him going to the gym all summer long. So he has not gotten where he is by accident at all. It's all hard work. I have not. Should I see it, or? I try and, I tweet very little, and I really use it to keep track of my guys and people who I always skip up to the top, so I miss all the positive and negative stuff on there. So.
As his playing time increases and exposure increases, what do you need him to do? What's the next step for Hal?
It's the next step for him, which I don't think this season is going to help him much. He just needs to be stronger. He's getting into the weight room. He still has a bit of a high school body. It needs a little bit more girth to him. And that's going to come with maturity. Secondly, not to be so casual with the basketball. He's still got that freshman high school casualness to his dribbling, which can sometimes get him in trouble. And then, I want him to continue to be sort of a floor leader. He's a very vocal kid for a freshman, which I like, and that's what happens when you play for Bob Hurley and a program like St. Anthony's. So I want him to continue being a vocal leader on the team.
Your team's won the rebounding category last 4 games and 5 out of 6. How much better are you feeling about that area than maybe you were earlier in the year?
Well, it's interesting. This all started actually before Eric came back, and that was something that we were very worried about at the beginning of the season, so we worked a lot on it. And you guys probably don't know this, but I absolutely hate box-out drills. As a player, I hated them. As a coach, I hated them because inevitably your best player got hurt. Not the worst player. One of your good players inevitably got hurt in those drills. So we were trying to practice them without guys getting hurt, and it's never very effective. So we just made it a big focus, and I like the way we've been rebounding all year long. I mean, there were some games where we've given up some ridiculously high number of offensive rebounds, but we've made up for it with our own defensive rebounding or our own offensive rebounding. So that's just an area that we've shorn up, and if we can get the turnovers to be like the rebounding, I think you'll see a big jump on this team. If we, right now we're giving the other team too many more opportunities than we get points off turnovers. That difference is a big deal, and if we can close that gap, keep shooting free throws at a proper clip, the rest of the stats I think are right where we want them to be.
Are you going to have a more aggressive game plan on Sunday to take advantage of the Ducks' struggles on defense?
Absolutely.
How are you guys going to improve on defense?
We're going to play defense the same way we've been playing defense. We want to stay in front of them, especially these guys. They're really athletic, and they're good at taking their man off the dribble. So you're going to have to just play basketball. You're going to have to be able to stay in front of these guys. I think the key against these guys is not letting them get going in transition. They're just devastating in transition. But we're not too easy to guard either. I mean, if we can shoot 50% from the field against this team, it's pretty good. But we play aggressively. I'm not trying to be smart or anything, but we're not going to play less aggressive than we play because it's the Civil War. I mean, the tweaks we need to make, I feel, aren't they're more mental than physical. They're more mental than game plan. So we just have to be just a tad bit more mentally tough and believe in ourselves. I can't be the guy who thinks we're better than we are. They have to think they're better than they are, and I have to convince them that they're not that good. You know what I mean? That's the psyche of this team.
Do you think it's the type of thing where some guys like confidence and some guys maybe are overconfident? Does it come mix, or?
I don't think any of our guys are overconfident. And I think you have to be extremely confident to be successful in conference games and on the road. You have to think you're going in and you're winning the game. And it happens to be close, and you're like, oh, wow, it's close. Let me do a couple more things here. It really, the mindset has to be, we are going to win these games if we do blank, blank, blank. And, I have a nice group of guys, and they're not necessarily the egotistical guys that I think that they could be because they're good enough. No. Have you heard that? Did somebody say that? You said that like it was a saying. I don't think ego is a bad thing at all. No. I think, most of your successful people in life have a bit of an ego.
Get back to the 3-pointers.
Yeah.
How much of that is just taking smart shots and good shots?
It is. It's a lot of it is that part. A lot of it is looking for what you can get inside and then settling for something outside. Because whenever you find in basketball, I mean, our opponents that we're going to play this weekend, they're very good at throwing the ball down and then throwing it out to a guy for a three-pointer, or having their best three-point shooter shoot one on a fast break. A lot of it has to do with being opportunistic and taking the right shots. I think in our case, as I mentioned, it is a lot of that, but it is more so having the right guys taking the shots. You know, it really is, because the right guys taking the shots, it's just a numbers game. I mean, you look at our stats, and I haven't looked at our stats since our last game, but we've got, what, 5 guys shooting over 34%, 35%. So if those 4 guys are it, and Angus is not shooting, his stats don't show well right now, but that's just because he hadn't taken enough shots, you know. So you add him to the mix, you got 5 guys who can make threes. If those 5 guys are taking them and the other guys aren't, we have a better chance of shooting, you know, 35 to 40%.